we had a record amount of people leaving. I've had so much fear and tension in my body. Pleasure comes and goes and pain comes and goes. But there's something that remains in us. The Vipassana allowed me to sink deeper into that recognition of who I am. It's gonna be tough, it's a challenge. You'll have to sit down and meditate a lot. There's 10 days of silence. So I am 2 weeks out of my first Vipassana retreat. And I gotta say that it's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And I want to say as well that if you are about to do a Vipassana retreat, if you are looking up videos and stuff of how it's supposed to be like, I recommend that you, if you want to keep watching, I recommend that you are not trying to have any expectations on yourself for what it's going to be like, because all experiences are highly individual and subjective, right? So whatever I experienced in my Vipassana retreat is very individual to myself. A lot of people struggled a lot. I think we had a record amount of people leaving, which was also quite surprising. But it is tough, right? I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say that it's easy, because it's not. Like, you will have to face a lot of boredom. You will probably have to face a lot of pain that you have been stuffing down yourself and try to escape from. But if you're able to last the 10 days, which I know that you will, all you need to do is to just be patient and sit and embrace it with acceptance. Just acceptance to what happens, right? You need to do that to be able to last in the Vipassana. But like I said, it's been one of the best things I have ever done. And what I want to do here is to just talk a little bit about my experience and what I got out of it. But first, the first 2 days for me was blissful. I felt free, I felt love. And just as a side note, you're meditating for 10 to 11 hours per day. So it's quite intense, right? But I have done quite a lot of meditation beforehand. And for me, it was kind of like a break from everything. It was just like a pleasant vacation of meditation and just being with myself, which was very pleasant. And one very interesting thing is that people that had never meditated before came in there and lasted the entire time, which to me is like incredible, because when I started meditating, I could barely sit down for 5 minutes, and I felt like I needed to, like, I don't know, I felt stupid. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I can't be doing this. But people who had never meditated before lasted for 10 days, which is mad respect in my eyes. But yeah, so the first couple of days were really pleasant. And then on day number 3, I believe, I started having like these crazy ups and downs. There were a lot of pain coming up for me, a lot of fear from the past, which I didn't even know that I had in my body. But I realize now in hindsight that I've had so much fear and tension in my body, even though I've been doing this type of work for a long time. I've been doing shadow work, I've been meditating, I've been doing all these practices to release stored emotions, and I thought that was like, I thought that I was not done, but I did not expect myself to have so much left inside of me still. And so tension in my shoulders and in my jaw and in my neck just started dropping on day number 3, and I felt more free than ever. But to be able to do that, you obviously have to go into the fear, and that's what I say. It can be quite intense. It can be, for some people that are not prepared to face those things, it can be very difficult. It can be traumatic sometimes. But so, and then every day after day number 3, it was like every other day was like super high. I was like on a super high with like feelings of unconditional love and freedom and peace and bliss, and feeling one with everything. Because you're out in nature as well. It's like when you're out in nature and you can see the trees and you can hear the birds and you can see some animals, snakes and some mice running around and all that. Like it was super pleasant. I felt at one with the bugs and I felt at one with everything. But as the Vipassana teaches, all of these things are coming and going. They are fleeting. All emotions are coming and going. Pleasure comes and goes and pain comes and goes. but there's something that remains in us, something that is able to be aware of this never-ending cycle of pain and pleasure coming and going. And so what Vipassana teaches is to not cling to pleasure or escape pain. It teaches us to just be one with the experience at all times, to be the awareness resting behind our experiences. So that is a massive takeaway for me and I have known that beforehand, but during the 10 days, obviously, you go into depth of all of that sort of stuff. I started finding such a deeper truth in that there's something in me that is immovable by pleasure or pain. And actually, if I just rest in that, if I can find equanimity in that, not needing to have pleasure, not having to escape pain, if I can learn to not cling and resist all the time, something very, very beautiful happens in me. And day number 5, I started having this crazy amounts of energy. Like, I'm not sure if you know what Kundalini energy is, but it's basically energy moving throughout our bodies. And I started feeling that in like the most intense way ever. I started feeling all the way from my root, my sacrum, all the way up to like here, the top of my head. And I was just sitting in this space of unconditional love for nothing. And that sensation of unconditional love, what that brings is just a pure knowing of I am here, belonging. I belong. I have a place, I feel safe, and there's trust. And with unconditional love, it's like we know that I don't need anything else than that. It's all I have ever wanted. And it's actually everything that I have ever sought in my desires, such as, let's say, alcohol or drugs or sex or video games or junk food or all of these desires that all of us humans have, right? Or shopping or whatever it is. We are searching for that thing which unconditional love gives us. So we are looking for something externally to fill this sensation of lack that arises when we are grasping for pleasure or escaping pain. We find that void, we fill that void perfectly. It's like the most perfect piece of the puzzle with just sitting with the sensation of what it feels like to simply be me. When we rest in that space of awareness of what it feels like to be us, the true us, what arises there is going to be unconditional love if we rest as that long enough. And with that, we don't need anything else. It's like we find ourselves and everything we have wanted to become, everything we have wanted to achieve, everything we have thought that we needed to do. All of those things just fade. And we find ourselves in the absence of becoming something, of needing to become something. When we drop the need to become something, we find ourselves in that absence of the need, which is just something I have found to be extremely fascinating, and why I'm so passionate about this type of work, because it's so paradoxical for the mind. It's impossible to, even using words sometimes is flawed, like it doesn't explain it. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it's such I know that it works. I know that it exists, even though I can't prove it to anyone, but I know. And that's all I need to know. So day number 5, I started having this Kundalini, like I said, the energy moving up and down. And I was going through all my like energy centers, and I felt my body, and I was like observing all of this thing, like all this energy going up and down. And then all of a sudden I started hearing this sound, like a frequency, like almost like hitting or like dragging 2 steel beams together, like those massive steel beams that you build skyscrapers with. If you like pull those together, like almost like that it was like a frequency. And I started hearing it. And I was like, where's this sound coming from? And I thought that it was coming from the outside, but turns out it was coming from the inside. It was coming from me. And it was coming from my heart center and my spine. And I can still, even now, like 2 weeks after, I can still, even though I don't hear the sound, I can find the space where the sound is coming from, because I know that it's still there. I think it's always there. And when I lean into it, I feel my body relaxing, and I notice my mind going quiet and still, and it's like I surrender. And there's a sense of reassurance and belonging and love that arises when I just lean into that space from where that sound came from. And I have no idea what that is. I think that some people have also witnessed, when they experience Kundalini energy in their body, that they can hear sounds. And you hear the sounds almost like coming from the inside of your ears. It's almost like tinnitus, but it's not tinnitus. It's something. It's almost like deeper than tinnitus, and it's pleasant. Like you like the frequency. It's soothing. And so I had that on day number 5. And then all the days after that, they were sort of like just me sinking deeper into that, like who I truly am, away from thoughts, away from concepts, away from opinions, away from everything that I think that I am, or think that I need to sustain myself or to survive. But I realized that it's only my mind that has been grasping onto things to stay alive. Like, I need to believe this, I need to have that, I don't like that, I don't believe that, I am this, I'm not that, constantly. And I realized how much I have been walking around and thinking about shit that doesn't matter. And so the Vipassana made me ultra aware of all the things that make me suffer. And I realize all my attachments as well, everything that I think that I need in my life to be happy, are just, it does not matter at all. They are more likely to make me unhappy or suffer if I am attached to them. If I am attached to my camera that I'm recording this on, or if I'm attached to my computer, losing them will make me suffer. But if I'm not attached to them, if I'm not tying my happiness to objects or things or relationships or destinations or activities or goals or anything, if I'm not tying my happiness to that, if I find it within, if I lean into that space more, who I am, then I don't need anything to be happy. I already am happiness. I am that. I am that which my mind has been seeking all the time in the external world, in short-term pleasures or in goals, or in thinking that I will be happy when I've achieved X, Y, Z in the future. When I lean into my true nature, when I lean into the space from space of awareness, then I find everything. I don't need anything. And here's the paradox again. And so that's what the Vipassana taught me, to first of all, to realize that I don't need anything to be happy, because I already am everything that I have been seeking in happiness. The pursuit of happiness is what has kept me unhappy or lacking, like something is missing. Something is not enough in the present moment, and I need to achieve a positive future outcome to make myself feel happy. And then we get stuck in that never-ending chase for pleasurable outcomes all the time. And the Vipassana taught me to, well, this has been a journey for me over the last 2 years, but the Vipassana allowed me to sink deeper into that recognition of who I am. And I think I found a deeper root in who I truly am. Just me. Just me. It's like, if I take all the wants and needs and have to do's and think that I should do's and have to becomes, and I need to be I need to be seen this way, I need to have this amount of status and fame and all that sort of stuff. If I take all of that here and I see that in front of me like a bubble, and I pop that bubble, what is it that remains there? Like, if I take away all of those things that I think that I need to do or have or be, it's me. It's me. That sense of being me when I take away all my desires. And that sense is everything I need. I don't need anything else than to just be that which I am. And I have understood that for a while, but it's interesting because this journey just allows us to sink deeper and deeper and deeper into that space. And for me, it's become impossible to deny. I can't deny it anymore. Like it's become a place where I just want to be at. I want to rest in that all the time. And so another thing I learned in the Vipassana is that every time we have desire in the body, we are going to be identified with thought patterns. We are going to be outside of the present moment. We are not going to be in peace. So desire, how I describe that, is like anxiously anticipating something. And it creates this sense that something is missing and I need to fulfill this part of myself. I need to fill this void with something, like an instant pleasure or some goal in the future. And every time desire is present in the body, I will be not present. I will be outside of the present moment and I will suffer. I will think that happiness is in the future somewhere. And if I learn to observe desire, like if I learn that, okay, is this desire that I'm feeling a sort of anxious anticipation in my body. Is this desire that I'm feeling? If that's the case, then can I become aware of desire? Who is aware of desire? From where do I notice desire in my body? From that space, from which I notice desire in my body, that is the space I'm talking about. That is the true me. And when I rest as that, desire goes away, I become fully present, and I feel a sense of belonging and love and freedom and peace and all of those emotions that we all strive for in external pleasures or goals or destinations or future achievements. I find that by resting in the space from which I'm able to observe my desires. And in that space, I'm always present. I'm not thinking about the future. I'm not thinking about the past. I'm not thinking that I need to do something or become something. For me, it's just 100% fine to just be in that space at all times. So yeah, it's been, that Vipassana has been one of the best things ever for me. Because it's taught me that happiness is what I have always been, and that I don't need anything to be happy. And I have never been this inspired ever to do the work that I'm doing with the coaching, with teaching people how to suffer less, because what I have realized in myself, I think that the world desperately needs, and I'm not saying that to sound special, because it's not special. It's the least special thing ever, but we are so stuck in desires of the mind all the time that we think that whatever I'm referring to is so special, because we're all seeking all of this, these emotions, like unconditional love. Oh, it sounds amazing. It is amazing, but it's who we are. It's not some special thing of the mind that is always, like the mind puts it on a pedestal. And when we like lean into our true nature, what I'm talking about, we will understand that it's nothing special at all. It's who we are. It's us, right? So it's not some achievement or some special thing that we need to achieve or become. It's who we are. But I become so much more passionate to point people towards this, because it gives me so much value to see people's eyes when they light up from understanding or recognizing this within themselves. So that is going to be my journey going forward. And if you're interested in working closer with me, if this sounds curious to you, if you want to dive deeper into this type of stuff, then click the first link and apply for my coaching and see and we'll see if we have a good match and maybe we can work together. But yeah, I highly recommend you doing the Vipassana. If that is something that you have been thinking about, if you feel called to it, I highly recommend doing it, because it's one of the most profound things I've ever done in myself, and I'm so grateful for doing it. It's going to be tough. It's a challenge. You'll have to sit down and meditate a lot. There's 10 days of silence, but in that silence and in the absence of thought, I'm not going to say whatever's going to happen to you, because this is individual to me, but what I found there was, it's going to be, yeah, it's ineffable, but it's going to be around forever, I realize. And I'm very, very happy to be, very grateful to have that experience. Let's say that. So if you're thinking about doing a Vipassana, I highly recommend. And I also want to say thank you for watching this video. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, because I'm striving for 1,000 subscribers, and I would very much appreciate you if you would want to subscribe. And I'm not, by the way, I'm not expecting happiness to come from more subscribers. I realize that now. I've been chasing that in the past. I already am happy. I already have everything I need. I am the goal. But I would appreciate you if you were to subscribe and like and comment as well if you want to. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.